Now what? Can you hear me? I can hear you slam. So loud.
Screeching sound.
Hello? There we go. Okay, the quadratic is case one. They're all quadratics. Your quadratic is based on the discriminant, The discriminant tells you if it's case 1, 2, or 3. If it's positive, the discriminant is case 1. If the discriminant is positive, keep saying discriminant. If the determinant is positive, it's case 1. If it's 0, it's 2, and if it's less than 0, if it's negative, it's 3. So when r squared plus 17r plus 36, you solve that, you do get positive 145. Since it's positive 145, that's case 1. Sorry, I'm trying to listen to myself, but there's about a 10-second lag between what I do on the video and what's showing for you guys. You guys want me to go over? Any questions? I think what my plan is right now, I'll just go back over question 1 and explain in real time. I just have to print. Unless there's other questions out there. My plan is also to live stream at least once a week for questions. I think I'm going to start doing that for each of my classes. Students. That's loud. Audio issues. I can also do example 5 if you guys want. Any questions? All right, 5 it is. So loud. All right, example 5. All right, a 3-kilogram object is attached to a spring and will stretch the spring 392 millimeters by itself. Free body diagram. This is the spring force, dampening force, remember orientation, X is positive, the downward direction. We have mass times gravity and F. All right, so I like to just go in order and find M, then find C and K. So from the beginning, 3 kilogram M is 3. Change in X will be for K, so we'll come back to that. A dampener will exert a force of 45 newtons when the velocity is 50 centimeters per second. So that's going to have to deal with your dampening force. Your dampening force is F of D equals C times X prime. Again, that's your velocity and your dampening force. The force is 45. You would think you would put 50 centimeters in, but again, we're going to do everything in meters, so this is going to be 0.5 meters. So we're going to divide by 0.5 on both sides, and that's going to give us 90. And just comment or have a question up because I am looking at the chat too if you guys need me to stop or re-explain something. The next thing we're going to do is figure out K. K is equal to mg over the change in x. The change in x was 392 millimeters. And we want that in meters, so moving it over 3 times for 1,000 millimeters in 1 meter. I can't listen to myself, otherwise I have to wait for myself to stop talking. All right, mg, m is 3, gravity is 9.8. Change in x, 0.392, same as the last problem, we get 75. So far we have this equation. And remember that's equal to f of t. But before we can continue with f of t, we need to redefine it. So f of t is equal to 10 cosine wt. We have a formula explained in the long video last time. Square root of k over m. So plugging our values in, same thing as the last problem. It's going to be 5. So that means f of t is really 10 cosine 5t. We want to make sure x double prime is just a 1 in front, so dividing by 3. All right, next thing we want to do is, that's where I kind of draw my line. Now I change it in terms of r. So r squared plus 30r plus 25 equals 0. That happens when r equals negative 30. So now we're using a quadratic formula because it doesn't factor. So it's 30 squared minus 4 times 1 times 25 all over 2. 30 squared is 900. 4 times 25, 100. So 900 minus 100 is 800. And 800 is 400 times 2. So square root of 400 is 20. And I'm going to rewrite those as R1 and R2. So R1, sorry for the crooked screen. R1 is, I'm going to divide by the 2, so negative 15 plus 10 root 2. If you plugged in your calculator, which I did already, it was negative 0. Here, I'll just do it right now. Negative 15 plus 10 root 2. So I'm just going to round it to 0.858 for now. I am also going to store this in alpha d. So I'm going to store this alpha d. You don't have to. Same is true. So negative 15 minus 10 root 2. And I'm going to store this in E. Old oily boy. Okay, so we have our R1 and R2. So I chose to write the equation at this point. Remember, your x of t is your xc of t plus your yp of t. So xc of t, E, it would be dt. I'm just going to write the decimal for now, 0.858 t plus c2 E negative 29.142 t. And then add your yp of t at the end. I don't know why I moved it over. Yp of t at the end. So, or I don't know why I call it xp of t. So I'm just going to write a little note down here, xp of t. And then I'll write that up here again. We know it's 10 cosine 5t. So a cosine 5t plus b sine 5t. Is this unique from the xc of t? And it is, so I don't need to redefine it as anything. This is my xp of t. And I'll write that up here. A cosine 5t plus b sine 5t. Okay, so now we need to take some derivatives. Once we get the first and second derivative, we're going to plug it back into here, match it up, and solve. We'll solve for a and b, and then we can go back and find c1 and c2. So, derivatives. Hopefully I don't make a mistake, but I probably will. Negative 5a sine 5t. b sine 5t. Cosine. So 5b cosine 5t. Second derivative. So sine will turn to cosine positive, so negative 25a cosine 5t. And this will turn negative, so negative 25b sine 5t. And Colin, I saw your message. I'm glad it makes sense. I started going through these, and number 5, Mahoney made a little mistake. She forgot to include yp of t when she takes derivatives. That's the first on this example, but I was able to put it together. So always glad when I'm able to figure out these problems. So next step, I got a new paper because we got some other stuff coming up. All right, so now I'm going to go to a second paper here and move all this way up. All right, so we're plugging it back into x double prime plus 30x prime plus 25x thirds cosine 5t. xp of t, or x double prime first. So that's going to be this. And you might have a faster way of doing it. I'm going to write it all out. All right, so that's my x double prime plus 30 times x prime p of t, which is this. Plus 5b cosine 5t keep plugging in. Remove this. Plus 25. Now plug in your x, which is your a cosine 5t plus b sine 5t. Run out. Equals 10/3. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is collect all these terms. I look for cosines first. So I made a parenthesis. I put negative 25a inside the parenthesis. And I'm collecting all the cosines. So there's another cosine here. That'll be 30 times 5, which is 150. 150b. One more cosine at the end, 25a. And those are all my cosine 5t's. And now I'll do the same with my sines. First sine is here, negative 25b, negative 150a, and then 25b. All right, so 25's cancel. B's cancel. And I didn't write this step on my original note, so kind of went to the next step, which is matching up. So next thing you want to do on eHoodie math is match up. Cosines match up. So 150b equals 10/3. That ends up being 1 over 45. Dividing by 150, we get a 15 times 3 in the bottom. There is no sign, so negative 150a equals 0. Oops. A equals 0. All right, so going back to the original, we know we had C1e to negative 0.858t plus C2e negative 29.142t plus a cosine 5t, that a is 0, it's going away, b sine 5t, that's sticking around. So now we need to take a derivative. So next goal is take the derivatives and solve for C1 and C2 using our initial conditions. So I have the original. Now let's take the derivative. You're going to get the negative 0.858 C1e the negative 0.858t minus 29.142 C2e the negative 29.142t. Sine turns to cosine, and the 5 comes out, so it's going to be 1/9. Okay, so now we have the initial conditions. I'll write those on the side. The first initial condition said if the object is initially displaced 20 centimeters downward. So it's the same as problem 4. Initial position is 20 centimeters downwards. We want that in meters, so that's just 0.2. Downwards positive. The initial velocity was 10 centimeters. So again, moving that to meters is 0.1 down. Be helpful if you could see that. So let's plug in. 0.2 is going to equal C1 plus C2. T 0, this makes it e to the 0, it's just 1. E to the 0 is 1. Sine of 0 goes away. The derivative, negative 0.1 equals negative 0.858 C1 minus 29.142 C2 plus 1/9. Cosine is 0 is 1. So we move that 1/9 over. It ends up being 19/90. Oops, what did I do there? Finally. Negative 0.1 minus 1/9. Get your decimal, change to a fraction. If you know how to solve systems on the calculator, that's what I would do. Probably the easiest way to do it. I didn't really do that, so I named them I named them C and D and solved. What else could we do? I'm just going to start here. I'm just going to do it a little differently. I'm going to start with this one. C1 would equal 0.2 minus C2. And then I plug that in to this one. So negative 19 over 90. And you're just solving from there. I'll show you what I did. I'm just going to do it this way. Call this D. I call this E. So this needs to move to the other side. You're going to factor out a C2 from both of these. And this should be positive E. I'm sorry. I knew I had a mistake there. Might have lost you with this last step. Just so I can keep it exact on my calculator. So really D is just my negative 0.858. So when I want to get my exact C2 and get as close as you want, I mean, you could just keep the decimal. Negative 19 over alpha y equals enter. Negative 19 divided by 90. Again, I already stored these as variables in my calculator. That's what I got before. So and then C1 was just 0.2 minus this answer. So there's C1. So we've got everything. We just need to write the equation. And I'll write that right here. Hopefully I can fit it. All right, C1, 0.199. E, the negative 0.858t. plus C2 plus 1/45 sine 5t. I don't know if you guys can see that. So there's the answer. Long problem. You got to get the gist of it and how everything works. That was fun. I think that's where I'll end it. Unless there's any other questions, I'll stick around for a little bit if you have questions. You don't want me to go back and show anything. This lesson brought to you by eHoodie Math and Bangs. I also hit an extra credit assignment in the very first one. The very first thing I showed you on Canvas, or very first thing I presented on Canvas, I hit an extra credit assignment in there somewhere. Gotta be stupid as Olsen. Yeah, I'll try to publish this, or I'll just make a new video. Any questions about class? My plan is just try to do as much as we can with the time we have. If people get sick or can't do it, then I mean, that adds a whole nother element. But for now, I'm just going to continue as we go and see kind of how everything shakes out. I'll make some videos each week. But for you guys, there's 10 of you. You guys are all smart. You guys are going to be successful no matter what you guys do. So I don't really have a final plan for you guys. It's just try to keep up the notes and keep educating yourself. All right, with that, since there's no more questions out there, I'll let you guys go. You guys have a great one. Stay safe, stay healthy, and yeah, buddy.